back to another episode here of the Gold Coast Titans Frontline Podcast, whereas myself, BKRsport, and Clarkey's Rugby League column, we speak all things Gold Coast Titans, from the men's game to the women's game, the HostPlus Cup, and everything going on around our Gold Coast Titans community. We do our best here to create a bit of positivity, keep the fire cracking, keep it going through the tough times, even though, we've never really had something to really kind of keep us going. We just find a way to keep us going, and it's always through the community, because we just want everyone to enjoy their time watching the footy, watching our city of the Gold Coast being put out there across the country. But like I said, my name's Blaze from BKRsport, and I'm also here with Dane from Clarkey's Rugby League column. How are we doing, champion?
G'day, Blaze and listeners, and you're right. We've had a few seasons, most recently when I believe it was the 2021 season, when we knew we were going into the finals there against the Roosters. We gave that a red hot crack, but yeah, it's just about holding the faith. Like, you look at the Warriors and the buzz around them at the moment. They're the only club that hasn't won a premiership yet. And the way their community is really behind them and they're so excited, there's an air of excitement around everything they do right now. That'll be our turn in the future.
In regards to that, man, there's also Newcastle right now. Newcastle have had a really tough 20 years since obviously Andrew Johns was around. As you said, the Warriors were there. And last year we had the North Queensland folk, the Townsville, getting around the Cowboys and whatnot. And you go back to 2016 with the Sharkies, who had 49 years without a premiership. And then you just saw that vibe around Cronulla, and you just always are hoping that one day it's going to be us. And I know the Gold Coast will light up like no other. Truly, I know this place will light up like no other when we do finally get that opportunity, because we've never had any success in any sport on the Gold Coast. So, it's just about kind of envisioning ourselves in that moment, because hopefully, Desi Hassler's coming in. I tell you every week, mate, Desi Hassler special. I've already ordered the Desi special. It's coming. So, yeah, look, we're just going to keep cracking on. But, yeah, the vibe around Newcastle and New Zealand right now is something that we just want to aim to achieve.
Yeah, it's not going to come this year, Titans fans. We know that, but the tough times don't last, the tough fans do. And once we do hit that peak of success, or we get back into the finals, and there's that air and that buzz and that excitement, there's going to be so many new Titans fans that are going to come on board, and I can't wait to welcome them all. I personally dislike how other clubs' fan bases kind of gatekeep being a real supporter, or you're a bandwagoner and stuff. If you're a Titans fan, you're a Titans fan. We want all the support we can get. We love all the support for our club. And that pretty much ties us really well into our news segment, because we've only got one bit of news, and that is that this round is Members Appreciation Round. Straight from the Titans website, it's about acknowledging the tremendous support the Gold Coast have shown to their club through the season. It's a record season for us in terms of membership, up over 13,000, and we've had really good crowds for a lot of this year. I remember going to a Monday night game against the Storm in the 2010s, and I think we had about 3,000 there. We're up over 10,000 every game this year. It's awesome to see. So I want to go a word over to you on the support we've got this year, and also how important a round like Members Appreciation Round is.
Yeah, look, I remember the game you're talking about, actually, because I don't know if I mentioned this in the first podcast we made, but I'll say it again. It would have been that game. Now, the numbers on the screen were different and what has been recorded were different to what was there that day. If you were there that day, you understand how low that crowd was. But yeah, it probably would have been around the 3,000, 4,000 mark there. And it was poor, but I looked around and I really took it all in and said, one day there's going to be 27,000, 30,000, 50,000 people who are going to say that they were there that day. They were there amongst us in that really, really poor crowd, because they want to obviously be like, the true fans and always be regarded as, I stuck through the Titans through thick and thin. And, no one is necessarily, insulting the bandwagons, because to be honest with you, man, I want them to come on because it means we're going well. So, choo-choo, all aboard, man. I'm happy to drive. But the fact of the matter is that, yeah, look, we've come a long way in regards to, even though we're having a poor season, we still are able to, really upgrade in regards to fan experience. I know that a lot of people will say, look, the New Zealand crowd, when they had all New Zealand fans and Panthers and Broncos and whatnot, really build that up. But the fact of the matter is that I know that there has been a lot of Titans fans in attendance this year. People can insult it all they like, but there is a lot of Titans fans who do still get out to games. So, look, it's always going to be the case where if you're struggling and another team's doing well, that you will get a lot of away fans that come in, especially on the Gold Coast, which is a very transient city. But yeah, look, you got to appreciate a round like this that celebrates the members and celebrates people that are willing to still stick it through and put in for this club, put their hard-earned cash into a club that they haven't been receiving a great deal for. But the fact of the matter is they're still here. So yeah, it's a really important round that gives back to the people that matter.
I love the round. And just to touch on opposition fans at our home games, I mean, with the greatest of respect to like Penrith, it's not really an area where people go to retire or love to live, whereas the Gold Coast is. The Gold Coast is a place where, of course, we're going to have lots of different fans from different areas originally in Australia that might support a different team come to the game. That's to be expected. It's such a beautiful area in Australia. And so, yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. And I guess the other side of the coin is when the Titans came into the comp in 2007, a lot of people did switch from their original team or start supporting the Titans in the NRL. And so we do have a widespread fan base, plenty of New South Wales, Melbourne members, as we saw last weekend, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I'll say on that as well is that, like with, the Panthers as well, and this isn't just to kind of, hurl abuse at Panthers fans here, but you've also got to remember, if you were here, throughout the duration of our existence, you would know that Panthers fans don't usually bring a great deal of attendance to Seabus, except for the last 2 years, which very, funnily enough, coincides with their success. So it just goes to show that they never would bring any fans back in 10 years ago. Even when they would make the 8 and just kind of be in and out, in and out, in and out, they were a very average team, not overly excessively bad, but like they were just a simply very average team that would go in and out from the bit of a yo-yo club from the 8. They never brought any fans, and then this year, it was the same thing. They just absolutely whooped us in regards to fan support. And you could even make an argument for the Warriors. Like, we'll get like a 17,000, 16,000 crowd against the Warriors. That's when they're not going well, but then obviously we get 25, 26,000 or whatever it was for when the Warriors are going well. So it just goes to show that with those teams, when they struggled, they didn't really bring a phenomenal amount. Warriors maybe a bit more, but specifically the Panthers didn't bring a phenomenal amount. Then when they got successful, that's when the whole heat came. So, yeah, look, it just shows that once we get successful, man, we'll get our numbers back. We'll get our numbers from 2010 back, because we had massive numbers in 2010. We were like getting 25,000 crowds every single week at Skill Park at the time.
Yeah, Skilled Park, I remember it. It was a great time for the club. There was a lot of excitement, buzz around every game. Star players, Preston, Scotty Prince, Luke Bailey, Mark Minicello might have been with us at that stage. A lot of stars on the coast, and the coast got out to support it. And that's where we hope, believe, and trust that this club is headed at the moment. But let's cast our minds back to last round in the NRLW. Let's recap that game. Of course, we did pick up another famous victory over the Dragons there, 23-22. 1 point, which moves us to third on the NRL ladder. Points differential does remain our enemy at this stage, but as long as we keep winning, we should be fine for that top 4 at this stage. We did have to watch this one on my phone in Amy Park, actually. So it's safe to say we were both together and very stoked when Brown kicked yet another field goal to secure victory for us. But from yourself, how did you see this game?
I love it, man. I love it. We got a win when, look, I was expecting us to win this, and we did get out to a hot start. We scored through Jamie Chapman, Jessica Elliston, and Ivania Politi, all before they could even get some points on the board. So, I think we were up like 14-0 or 16-0. Very early days. It's unfortunate that we allowed the Dragons to get back into it, and they actually led at one stage 18-16 going into, I think it was the last 10 minutes or so before Karina Brown ended up scoring, and then they scored again right on the buzzer pretty much before we kicked a field goal to obviously win the game. But it was disappointing that we let them back into it, but it also showed that we have so many good signs still going forward. The Dragons were obviously at home. It was a beautiful day down there at Cogra, and they wanted it. They really desperately wanted it, because if you go and have a look at the ladder, they are really struggling. They're down there in 8th position right now, and they believe that they were a better team coming into this season than what the ladder does show. They've won the 2 games there with their minus 18 points differential, which, is actually better than our points differential, which is crazy to say. We said this last week to death. The Titans, we're doing well right now. We're in the top 4, but we are the equivalent in a way to the Raiders of the NRL men's, where if we win games, we're not winning by much, and if we lose games, we're actually losing them by a decent margin, i.e. the Knights game and also the Roosters game, which is the only 2 teams that are above us right there. So, we do sit on 8 points, which is 2 points below the Knights and the Roosters, who are tied up there. But again, it will come down to the fact that Titans are minus 20. The Roosters in first are plus 122. So So that is a 144 point gap, 142 point gap there in regards to the differential. So we can't even worry about that. And then you got the Knights who are plus 61, which is another 80 odd that is better than us. You know, you go down below us, the Raiders minus 23. At least we beat them in that regards, and they're in the 8-2. The one we've really got to worry about here is the Broncos. They're sitting on 6 points. If we lose a game, the Broncos win. They've got a plus 49 points differential. They play the Sharkies in a big game this week. But, you know, we play the Tigers this week. I believe we win, and we'll get into that in a second. But if we were to lose that game, the Broncos beat the Sharks, they would go above us, which is scary. It's scary. It's very scary that we can drop out. But overall, man, you know, I'll take the win, especially away from home there. Hopefully our women's team can really pick it up, and at least we scored some points here, because the worrying thing that I did say as well last week was that we're not scoring enough points. Roosters have scored 194 points. The Knights have scored 156 points. The Raiders scored plus 121. Broncos 156. Sharks 102. Tigers 106. Dragons 114. Even the Cowboys at 89. So we are still in second last for points scored. So I am happy that we did score 23 points. That puts us onto 84 points scored for the year. The only team below us is the 74 points scored for the Eels, and they obviously haven't won a game yet. Actually, did they win a game on the weekend?
They got one this round.
Yeah, they won a game on this weekend. So, you know, that's the only other team, though, that we're above in regards to points scored. Our defense is actually pretty damn well good. We're tied for third there alongside the Sharks, and second is the Knights, and first is the Roosters. But yeah, look, still concerning signs about a few things, but you got to maintain that positivity. We're still in the top four there. Hopefully we can get a big win this week, and we can keep on moving and grooving.
What I liked about this win was, you know, we were in control of the game, then we weren't, but then we fought back. And I know that fighting back has been a key theme of our season, but it is coming under different circumstances each week. And so that does give me excitement that once we do get to the finals, if something doesn't go perfectly or too script, we kind of don't drop our heads, we stay in the fight. If you cast your mind back to our preview for this game, I did tip the 1-12 result here, and my key point was our start. I said it had to be better than previous weeks. I made a huge point of that. And it's safe to say the Titans NRLW staff are listening to our podcast. No, I'm only joking. But we had 3 tries in the opening 20 minutes before conceding our first try in the 28th minute. Safe to say that is a brilliant start. Our goal kicking, my biggest concern from this one, 1 from 5 through Lauren Brown. But of course, she did make up for it with the match-winning field goal. Let's stay with Lauren Brown for a moment. I said she needs to start at hooker because I thought we needed to start with our best possible team out there. I was wrong there. She just needed to start somewhere because she's an absolute superstar. In the halves she started, went really, really well there. So I want to ask you, are you happy we've kept her there moving forward this round? And do you think that could be something permanent this season?
I really think that it's something that we do have to consider. Obviously, you know, when Talia Fuimaona comes back, and maybe we do put Shante Kirioratu into the 7, and then also, obviously, Talia Fuimaona into the 5'8". Don't know there, but I thought Lauren Brown did really well in that number 7. I do think it was due to the fact that last week we were talking about the youngster halves. You know, the fact that Siana Lefippo and Shante Kirioratu are both extremely young, inexperienced halves that we're not saying don't have the quality to be good, but they're both at the exact same level in their career where it really was clashing. And this was my biggest problem with this team, was that not individually calling out these girls, but it's just that the 2 of the most important positions on the field were at the same level of their career, and it was very seriously clashing for mine. So I thought it was a good move there by Karen Murphy to chuck her into the number 7 there, Lauren Brown. Obviously, you know, she knows how to work that spinal role as it is when she's normally playing the number 9. I think Brittany Bralinati as well can obviously play that hooker. She's very well known for that. She actually played there pretty much last year, I believe. So, yeah, look, obviously Siana Lefippo is still on the interchange there, but overall, I just think it provides that bit more experience. It provides a bit more of a cool head in the halves to help out Shante, and you can even help out Lefippo if she got a crack there, but we are still waiting for the return of Talia Fuimaona, obviously. That has been our biggest thing pretty much this year. So it might be interesting. If we keep winning games with Lauren Brown in the 7, maybe you do just have to decide whether Shante is our 14 or if it's Lefippo, or, you know, you put Lauren Brown back to the 9, but I do think Brittany Bralinati can cover that position well. So it does provide a little bit of extra spice to the team, and I liked what she did in her first game there, yeah.
I hope Fuimaona recovers really quick. We need her for this home stretch, absolutely, and particularly headed into the finals. It would almost create like a Brimson Campbell issue for us there, where we have like three or four quality halves that somehow has to fit into two. And to go back to the inexperienced halves, I had to think about it after our last podcast. It really reminded me of these last few weeks in the NRLW. Hate to draw on an NRL specific example, but it reminded me of when we had LG and Taylor for our NRL side. Two halves with all the talent in the world, but just didn't have that experienced head next to them. But Lauren Brown picks up 3 line break assists and a try assist. I think we keep it there until Firmino is recovered, and then we reassess from there. To wrap up my recap of this game, 75% completion. I said we needed it up around 80% to win this game. Close enough, I would say. We did only miss 17 tackles to their 39 missed. 15 of those missed tackles, Blaze, were on one player, Tegan Berry. Only 2 other Dragons players, their wingers, had 1 tackle break each. So Berry was unbelievable for the Dragons. Not to take away from the Titans theme of this podcast, but you got to give a big...
Man, look, just to quickly jump in here, just to jump in and say, Tegan Berry was unbelievable. You know, she absolutely tore us up, man. It was actually outrageous how well of a game she had. You know, she'd be actually really disappointed. She would come away from that game feeling extremely disappointed that, you know, she ran for 287 metres, 4 line breaks, 112, fantasy points for all the fantasy players out there, and had all those tries. So the point of the matter is that she would come away feeling like, how did we not win that game when I scored 4 tries and had all those line breaks and run meters? So, yeah, every time she got the ball was dangerous. It was scary for our Titans girls, but the fact of the matter is we still got the win.
We got the dub, but for Tegan Berry, to wrap that up, that was the best NRLW performance I've ever seen in a losing side. That's just an unbelievable effort by her. I've just never seen something like that before, where a side misses 17 tackles and 15 of them are on one player. It's unheard of. It was a super performance by her. But look, we snapped a 2-game winning streak. I don't care if we win by 1 or 30. We need to keep that momentum now and keep our season rolling forward. Let's jump into our NRLW 3-2-1s. I'll go to you first for your 3 points, please.
I think my 3 points, I'm actually going to go to Lauren Brown. I think that moving her from the position, and I know who you're probably going to say for the 3, but I'm actually going to go to Lauren Brown because we've moved her from a position of hooker where she's normally used to. We've put her into the 7. She's got a lot of expectations there, simply because that's where our issues have really been defined throughout the season so far, in those halves with those inexperienced. So you put in the experience there, and she does just what she needs to do. I know she missed her conversions, but she did lead the team around the park quite nicely. Obviously, she did keep the winning field goal in the end. Had a try assist as well, had a couple of line break assists, like you said. So, yeah, I think that Lauren Brown, for me, is going to get the 3 points based on the fact that she was very heavily involved in pretty much all of our points.
Yeah, we'll stay with Lauren Brown. She is my 2 points. Had to factor in somewhere there. 1 try, 3 line break assists, and the match winner, of course. My 3 points, though, did go to Jamie Chapman. She had 2 tries, 2 line break assists, 6 tackle breaks, and 150 plus meters. I thought she was our clear spark in attack. And why that excites me is other games it's been Politi, other games it's been Guthrie Williams. So we've got these attacking weapons across the park. Jamie Chapman gets my 3 points. Who gets your 2 points?
My 2 points is going to go to Jamie Chapman. I thought this was really a big breakout game for this year, specifically the Titans. We all know that she has the quality playing for New South Wales. She is a really incredible centre, dynamic centre, attacking centre, and honestly could have got my 3 points for sure. It's just the change of position there for Lauren Brown to still go out and kill it and then to get that field goal is why I gave it 3. But yeah, Jamie Chapman was incredible, and we've been waiting for it to really pop off there. I do believe, obviously, I always maintain centres and wingers really come down to how well the halves are going to get the ball out there to the right place. So it does obviously show that Lauren Brown probably helped influence that quite significantly as well. But yeah, my 2 points there does have to go to Jamie Chapman. And then in regards to my 1 point, this is a pretty, I could go quite anywhere. But I'm actually going to go to Brittany Brayley-Nutty, who comes into the number 9. She had the most tackles in the game for 43. Obviously, she's been coming off the bench and whatnot. I thought she killed it. I thought she absolutely killed it, man. Didn't have a great deal of runs and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is that she really did help us in regards to steering the ship whilst we did have a player playing in a different position, had a couple of dummy half runs and whatnot, and had 92 passes. 92 passes in the game, which is very heavily involved in the game. The next best Okay, here's a good stat for you. The next best amount of passes in the team was Lauren Brown on 33. So she had 92. Take 30 from 92, 82, 72, 62, 59 or 58, whatever. I'm not a mathematician. This is not BKR math over here. But the point matter is that Brittany Bradley-Nardi was absolutely influential in this team, and I really liked her in the number 9 role.
I love that pick. She didn't complicate her game. She passed well to our halves, got them early service and defended well, and that's all you can ask for from a hooker. Anything else is an extra. My 1 point goes to Jessica Elliston. It feels like every week I've got either Marto, Elliston, sometimes both in my 3-2-1s. Fantastic leaders for our forward pack. This week, Jess had 17 hit-ups for 165 meters, 6 tackle breaks, and 21 tackles for 0 misses. I was really, really impressed with her in the front row there. Let's jump into our NRLW preview. We're against the Tigers at 12:03 p.m. on Sunday, a very specific kickoff. And of course, we are at Cbus Super Stadium for a double header. Tigers coming to this game with a 2-4 record, sitting in 7th place. Their 2 wins this year came in rounds 1 and 2. They were over the Eels and the Sharks. They've not won since. So they will be desperate. It's our first time playing the Tigers in the NRLW. So I want to know, how do you see this one?
I think that this one should realistically be a pretty solid defining win for us this season. I think it needs to be, because the Tigers started off in a perfect situation where they had the Eels, who obviously have incredibly struggled this year. Like, they have really, really struggled. They've only had that 1 win, which came over the weekend. They've only got the 74 points and have given up 174 points in total. They got, gutted for talent in the off-season to other teams, and, the Eels have struggled. So the Tigers were on top of the table there, and they played the Sharkies, who have been incredibly inconsistent in their first year in the competition. So the Tigers have actually dropped from where they were in first after 2 rounds all the way down to 7th already, and they've got a point differential of -14, which is in fact still better than the Titans women's. But the fact of the matter is, I'm still more confident in what this Titans women's team can produce. The issue is, though, is that, look, we do score less points than them, 84 to their 106, and we only give up 104 to their 120. So we are a better defense than them. Like I said, we're actually one of the better defenses in the game. It's just those points. But again, we've actually faced harder teams. Like, we've faced some incredibly difficult teams overall. The Roosters actually, did the Tigers play the Roosters yet? Do you know?
I'll check that for you.
Thank you. Yeah, we've played the Roosters, who obviously are the favourites for this year. The Knights, who were the team that actually won it last year and are one of the favourites this year. And even the Sharks, who were one of the favourites of this year as well. But I think they've already played each other as well. But the fact of the matter is that I just think that this Titans women's team is waiting for that game-defining breakout where we're going to really initiate our season, because this is a must-win for us. The Raiders, they take on the Knights. You would expect the Knights to win that game. If the Raiders can do us a favour, that'd be nice. But you would expect the Knights to win that one. So we don't have to worry about the Raiders too much there. But again, we have to worry about the Broncos. So let's say the Raiders do get an upset win over the Knights and the Broncos beat the Sharkies, or we go out of that top 4. So, yeah, look, I think that this should be our game-defining, our season-defining big win.
I think it's must-win, particularly when you look at next week when we've got the Eels. Obviously, you don't want to have one eye into the future, but certainly we can build a win streak here as we head down the home stretch. Our common opponents with the Tigers are the Sharks. We both share a win over them. They lost by 4 points to the Cowboys. We've defeated them. They lost by 4 points to the Dragons, who we've also defeated. And the Roosters got on top of both of our sides. The Roosters beat them by 38 points, actually. They do look the premier side at the moment, so I suppose that's to be expected for both sides. And you go through this one statistically, they are scoring more points than us, but they are conceding more also, which is the same statistic line we had last week with the Dragons. Completion rate, tackle efficiency percentage for both sides so far this season, all very similar. I'm going to lean to us and give us the advantage because we do have that home ground where I know you'll be there on the drums, and we'll have a lot of members there spurring up a great atmosphere for our girls. I do think this is a very winnable game. Absolutely, I do. And I don't think our game plan needs to shift fundamentally from last week. I think we can literally roll out the same game plan here. Let's focus on our start, keep that completion rate up, and give ourselves a great chance. Ivania Polite had 11 tackle breaks and 223 meters against the Dragons, and they are very similar defensively stats-wise to the Tigers. So I'm going to tip her to have another massive game. Now, I know that's not an earth-shattering bold call because we know what she's capable of, but I'm going to put out an early prediction that she will be our MVP. We'll win 1-12, And of course, Politi will score at least one for us there. That's my final prediction. What's your final prediction for this
I'm
one?
going to have to go with you know what? I'm going to go with what I was saying. I'm actually going to back us in for a 13-plus win here. I'm going to back us in for the season game defining. But I don't even know what I'm saying. But the fact of the matter is I'm saying we're going to win. And we're going to win well. They do have some good players there. Patil Walsh, who I believe was at the Eels last year. Rakea Horn's also quite damaging centre there. He used to play for, I believe it was the Dragons. But the big one there is also Kezi Apps, who plays in the back row, used to play for the Dragons. Jamie Soward would not have wanted to lose her, but obviously he did lose her. She went to the Tigers. She's a really, really good back row. But you go through most of these players on our team compared to theirs, and I just think that we're a lot more defined. I think Karina Brown's really been coming on and playing a little bit better. Coming into the most recent week, she was really good actually against the Dragons down there. You go into our centres, Jamie Chapman and Noel Williams-Guthrie taking on Leanne Tufunga and Rakea Horn. I think that we definitely win that battle there. Politi versus Vedi Walsh. I think Vedi Walsh is great, but I do give that battle to Politi, as you were saying. The halves, I think Lauren Brown to the halves really does bring it up because Pauline Pillay, Rasambali and Brooke Talataina, I still think that Lauren Brown and Shante Kiriratu showed enough in that game against the Dragons, and I will give it to us there. Don't even start in the front row forwards of Shannon Martin and Jessica Ellison versus Imogen Gobron and Christian Pio. And then at number 9, Brittany Bralinardi versus Ebony Pryor. I give it to our girl again. The back row is very even in my opinion. Kezi Apps and Shaylee Bent are incredibly alike in my personal opinion. I think they're both the really elite players of their positions. And Zara Canfield and Eliza Salata, I think that's a very mixed back row there for the two. And then Georgia Howell versus Nevada and George. I'm taking Georgia Howell every day of the week. So I think that we outdo them in every aspect of the field personally. I think that we should be winning this game. If we don't, it'll be a big shock to me. So I'm going to say Titans 13+. And I'm actually going to say that Georgia Hale is going to be our MVP. I think that Ivania Peliti could absolutely tear it up, and I definitely think that that's a great shout. But Georgia Hale, I think that she's going to turn it on here. She's going to lead the women to glory, and I think that she's going to get some really good post-contact meters against the Tigers team that has been falling away of late.
And of course, Georgia Hale does average the most tackles of anyone in the NRLW, so definitely a great prediction there. Let's go across to NRL. Let's recap another loss, unfortunately. This one was against the Melbourne Storm. We go down to the 4th place Melbourne Storm, 37-16 at Amy Park. Much like the Panthers for me, where they really pulled away late. They scored 18 points from minute 62 onwards. So Panthers was from minute 65 onwards. Storm got us 3 minutes earlier and pulled away. But this was another close one, I thought, until it wasn't. We really did compete, I thought. We really did compete for a large portion of this game. It wasn't to be in the end, but how did you see this one?
Frustrating one, man. It was the exact same as last week. I only said last year. I guess you could argue that. But it was the exact same as last week with the Panthers. And if you guys watched the vlog on BKRsport, where Clarkey and I were sitting there live watching the game, and I just kept saying, this is the same game as last week. It's the exact same game as last week. We're competing. We're in it. We're firing. There's a chance. I was a little bit less confident when we were having our little stages throughout this game in Melbourne. I was less confident of a comeback compared to the Panthers game the week before. But the fact of the matter is that, look, the scoreline doesn't flatter us. Again, last week's scoreline didn't flatter us. This week's scoreline didn't flatter us. But it showed that we can compete. And I will say there were changes made throughout the team that show that Desi is implementing himself. Desi is implementing himself on the team now to see for next year what he wants to do. The fact that Keanu Kinney came into that fullback was a actual Desi decision there. So the fact of the matter is that, look, I think that that game showed, again, that we have the ability, we have the quality, we have what it takes to compete with these teams. It just comes down to that final tinkering touch from a Desi special, like you said last week. Or actually, I think you said in the vlog, we get to that 65 minute and then fall apart. But the fact is that after that 65 minute, maybe it just takes a Desi special to come in to tinker the team, to know exactly what to do in that situation, to fight the adversity of falling away late. So this is more, I guess we've fixed ourselves from when we were just completely throwing away entire second halves. Now it's the last 15 minutes. We're competing for 65, not just 40. And I just think it is a very similar last 15 to what we had previously with the Dolphins, the Bulldogs, the Knights, the Broncos, Rabbitohs and whatnot. where we were giving up that in that 40. So we are making progress and we are going closer, but there is still a defined gap between the us and the good teams right now.
It definitely is. Our talent is there every week. Like, we've got talent. We've got great moments of glimpses in almost every single game this year. And the analogy I kind of used on the vlog for those that haven't watched it yet is, this might not make sense for our listeners, but certainly if you're on YouTube, you'll see what I'm pointing out here. When we get to that last 20 minutes, if we're 3 centimeters away from victory, with our current mindset as a side, we feel like we're 6 centimeters away. But in reality, we're only 3 centimeters away. And what I think the experience and the leadership of Des Hasler will do is help fundamentally shift that mindset that, hey, lads, you're not 3 centimeters away, you're 1 centimeter away. And then once we get that try, we can get that momentum and that belief into this side, particularly in the last 18 minutes, because in this Panthers game, in the Warriors game, in the Storm game, those are 3 top 4 sides, and we were near enough. We just didn't quite have that mental edge to get over the top of them. And I really think Desi can help implement that. I think Tino's a young leader who everyone respects at the club. He can really push that message across to the boys on the field in conjunction with Kieran Foran, who we know loves Des Hasler. So great signs for the future from this game. I will say results-wise on this one, I'm not too disappointed. I was at the time at the ground watching, but that's just because I actually did really feel we were in with a chance. And I was really just trying to hope with every bit of me that we could get across for that upset. But it was difficult for me to fully narrow in this one. I don't know if you guys have been to the footy with young kids before. My daughter was into mischief beside me the whole time. My 5-week-old son threw up on my missus halfway through. She was trying to breastfeed. So it was all happening off the field as well as on the field. Not to make it about me, though. I did feel we were a good chance for a long time in this game. And I thought, maybe. But deep down, I kind of knew that the Storm are a bit too quality to drop here. What hurt us is we beat the Storm earlier this year, and they slacked off against the Dragons. So you put those two together, they were never going to take it easy on us or give us that opportunity that we all deep down really, really wanted. But look, it can be done. You can get these upsets. We saw the Panthers do it to Eels on Friday night. But as I said, these Storm are just a different gravy. They're a quality football side. So I think we came to this one with a good intent. I thought we played good for the majority of the game. And I can't be too disappointed with that.
Another thing that has to be said, though, as well, is the fact that, Kieran Foran, I think the disappointing thing out of this game was that Kieran Foran, if he's coming off with a HIA there, you have to give him a penalty. Like, it's just as simple as that. And that's what, we were speaking about throughout the game. I was speaking about with Foz, we were speaking at the post-match function and whatnot. It's just like, if Foz is getting, regardless of what's happening, right, if you're getting contact on the head, albeit soft as it was, fact of the matter is that how are you sending somebody off for a HIA for being obviously contacted high if you're not going to give them the penalty? And it was at that very moment that the Storm broke away. We'd lost all direction. We were still in that game at that point. It was still an 8-point game with about 15, 16 minutes to go. You take off one of our leaders in Foz, a guy who's happy to go up to the rev, who's happy to dig in, throughout this season. His body is, he's still pushing along his body throughout all the adversity and whatnot. And he is an inspiration to this team. To take him off for HIA, which took them off for the rest of the game, and then they score immediately, we'll never come back from that, and that's the game over. So I think that, look, if you're going to send somebody off for a HIA for something that was, a clear hit across the head, regardless of the soft or intent of it, the fact of the matter is, he is still contacted on the head. How do you send him off for HIA, which ultimately derailed a lot of our game?
And let's be very clear, the medical bunker can only intervene when a medical professional has reviewed the footage and they are convinced that there has been a considerable force to the head that could have caused some form of trauma and requires an assessment. I didn't see it. If I'm absolutely honest, I love you, Foz, but I didn't see it as any significant shot like that. But the fact is, I'm not a medical professional, right? And the medical professional has. And so when Tino's going to the referee and asking for clarification there, and the referee's saying, no, we'll play on, forget about it, I really think we deserved an answer there. Sir, the medical professional here has said he has to go for an assessment because he believes he has copped considerable force to the head, which we know is a penalty in rugby league. Can you please tell us why that is not a penalty? And the answer is for the referee, simply they got that one wrong, in my opinion. And it frustrates me because I don't like talking about it, but I know if we don't, then I know other fan bases aren't going to do it for us because we're one of the smallest that don't care. And I know some other Titans content creators online aren't going to do it. So unfortunately, guys, you might not like that we have to go into the referees like that, but I'm really glad you brought it up. Actually, let's finish on a positive. Let's go into our 3-2-1s. For your 3 points, tell me, why was it Tino? Right?
I think it's probably going to be Tino. I think it's probably going to be Tino. If it's not Tino, I'm probably going to go with Tino for my 3 points there. This man was just, it was the same old. 68 minutes played. And I think that was the first 68 minutes, wasn't it? Can you confirm?
Oh, we'll do that for you.
Yeah, I think that was the first entire 68 minutes. Because we were sitting with, obviously, myself and Dane, and then we also had Rhonda to our right, and we were talking about how the fact that Tina hasn't come off yet. He just wasn't coming off. So unless there was a little stint where he came off maybe in the 55th to 60th minute, I don't know, but that also kind of does correlate with the collapse. We lost Foreign, and then Tino had to come off there because I remember he had cramps and whatnot. So maybe that's where the collapse came from. The fact that Foreign had to come off for a HIA, and I think we lost Tino late there due to cramps and whatnot.
So 67 and a half minute, Tino was subbed off for Jacob Arlick. 1 minute and 10 seconds later, Shoppy came back on for Kieran Foran. So we lost both of our leaders within the space of 1 minute.
Exactly right. So it's like with the Cowboys game, you go back to round 2 or 3 or whenever it was when we were up in there in Townsville. I think it was round 3 because first game we had Tigers at Leichhardt, second game we then had Dragons at Cogra. So no, then Storm and then Cowboys up there in North Queensland. So, I'm just trying to go through my season at this point. But look, Tino was incredible. But I just think that noticing that fact just then shows where our game kind of went askew from the quality we were putting in. But Tino, 21 runs, 218 metres, he had 17 kick return metres, post-contact metres of 103, which is absolutely incredible. Let's go have a look where we got offloads. He had 2 offloads there. I'm just trying to look for tackles. Tackles, 37. He had the most tackles made throughout the entirety of the game. So, he did have quite a few missed tackles, but in the same sense, when you make a lot of tackles, guys, you are going to miss tackles. Not many didn't have missed tackles. BK had no missed tackles, but had a couple of ineffective tackles. And Cleese Haas, who's been coming leaps and bounds lately, he had no missed tackles, had 1 ineffective tackle. Jacob Alec made 3 tackles for no miss. Obviously, only played that limited amount. I've got Tino as my 3. I don't think anybody could go away from that. I think it's pretty obvious, and I'm a big Tino.
I don't have Cleese in my 3-2-1, but honourable mention has to go to him. He has improved so much recently. I don't know if you know this. He actually has an older brother called Payne Haas, but we know we've got the better half. So.
Oh my god! Listen. Cleese is the best Haas in the business. It's not even close. Don't even know who this other Haas is. Cleese is the best Haas in the business. I tell him this every single week. I tag him every time I tag him, he just reacts to it because he just he knows. And it's funny because I tag Payne in it half the time as well, and he reacts to it as well. So obviously they've had a little bit of a laugh there between the two. But Cleese's the best Haas in the business. Not even a debate.
Love you, Payno, but you're a has-been and Cleese is the next gen, baby. We got him. Sorry for my dad joke. My 3 points, it's Tino. You guys know it. 218 metres, 37 tackles, the most of both stats for our side. Massive against his former side, particularly when you consider they tried to sign him on a 10-year deal recently. And he stayed loyal to us, and he really stuck to his former side and shown them what they missed out on. My 2 points goes to Chrissy Randall. He had a key try for us, 5 tackle breaks and 32 tackles. I love this guy. I will admit I stole a little bit of credit from you at the post at the members function. I believe you went to get a water or something, and you told me that it was Chrissy's 50th and he scored a try and how you want to give him a big rap. I took that moment to steal your thunder and I said, congratulations on 50 at the try. I don't know if I admitted that to you on the night, but I'm admitting it now.
Yeah. You're admitting it to me now when you're in Canberra and I'm on the Gold Coast. Yeah. when you couldn't be any further away. You're closer with Antarctica than you are to me right now. So, buddy, gee whiz, I didn't know about that, but it is what it is, man. I didn't actually even get to have a chance to speak to Chrissy that night. So, at least somebody was able to say it himself.
He told me how rude you were and how he loved my compliments. I'm only joking. Who gets your 2 points, though?
My 2 points is going to go to the man who had 50 games. Chrissy Randall is going to go to Chrissy Randall. And just remember, Chrissy, it was me who brought up the 50-game marker there. But no, look, it was quality as always, man. One try. Obviously, at first we thought it was going to be a double movement, but it definitely wasn't. He fell out of the tackle and got up and went again. And it's actually really intelligent work from him, because a lot of players might have thought, oh no, I am being tackled here. I can't get back up. A lot of I guess, for lack of a better word, bullfed forwards will go and just, try and reach out even though it's a blatant double movement. But Chris absolutely knew that he wasn't tackled yet and still got up to go again. So, yeah, I thought that was great. Obviously, he had the tackle breaks and the tackles. And, again, he has been, and I want to actually say this right now because I saw some person who... on one of the fan club pages, right, on Facebook, I saw someone saying that there was a post complimenting saying that both teams won out in the Greg Marcia and Chris Randall trade. And that's true. It's absolutely factual. Greg Marcia to the Knights has been an absolute killer, but Chris Randall to the Titans has been absolutely fundamental to our season in a lot of regards, in covering multiple positions and being able to play everywhere. He's a tackle bot. He's a machine in what he does. And there was this one guy who just kept saying, no, Chris Randall hasn't been good, and Greg Marcia, we're really lacking out on a quality winger, and Greg Marcia can change games. Hello, in regards to the wing department, right? We've already got Loffy, we've already got Sammy, we've already got heaps of guys in the waiting in the wings. Ken Mamalo, Aaron Schupp can play in the wing as well. Tony Francis, who we'll talk about a little bit in upcoming in this game. The fact of the matter is that we've got so much depth there, and Sammy's been having an incredible year, and Loffy's breaking records. So who are you getting rid of there? It doesn't make any sense. A winger is not going to change the direction of what this team has been doing this year. Greg Marcia would have done the same thing as he's done in previous years, and it's just fortunate for him that the Knights have really gone on to a run. But in regards to Chrissy Randall, he has been so fundamental to our season. Each week will say Chrissy Randall is in my top 3 because the fact is he implements himself so heavily into this team in such a quality way. So yeah, I'm giving it to Chrissy Randall for number 2. But I also think that he is a very, very outside shot. If we didn't have Tina or Dave, he might honestly be winning the Broughton medal.
Yeah, if not, I think Chris will definitely contend for the members medal. Outside of that fan, I do think most fans really appreciate what Chris has been able to do for us this year. And just on the winger situation, Lofiana Khan-Pereira has 19 tries this year. A lot of those tries, Greg Marcia is not scoring because their whole length, he's using his speed to get them. Whereas Greg's tries are more crash overs from Kalen Ponga brilliance on the inside. So no doubt Greg would be starting our sets stronger than what Loffy is, but Loffy's scoring tries for us that Greg wouldn't either. And of course, then we wouldn't have Chrissy Randall playing so great for us. So both sides won. I couldn't be more happier that Chris Randall's at our club. My 1 point goes to AJ Brimson, 2 try assists and over 100 meters there at fullback. We did only score 3 tries in this one, didn't we? And AJ was involved in 2 of them. So special mention to AJ. And that one, who gets your 1 point?
Yeah, look, I'm going to give an honourable mention to AJ because it throws another conundrum. Again, I still maintain that... we probably should be looking to put him into centres due to the injury thing that he does have, unfortunately, with him, and have JC who's been killing it there into that fullback. But with that being said, it threw another conundrum into the mix again with him coming back and being like, I am good enough to play this fullback position, which we all knew he was. But yeah, look, AJ really came in and implemented himself really, really well, which I appreciated. But my 1 point this week is going to go to someone who you probably wouldn't have expected to. He is a rookie. It's Tommy Weaver. I think Tommy Weaver was great. I thought he really was good, man. He did what he could. He's 100% with his kicks. Tanner, you got to watch out here, son. Tanner doesn't miss. But it looked like Tommy Weaver doesn't miss either because he's 100% from his kicks. And it was from the sideline. It wasn't like it was an easy kick by any means. Had 9 runs for 61 run meters. 13 post contact meters. Had 3 tackle breaks, which is really good there for, a 7. And just implemented himself really, really well. Had 42 passes in the game, which was only second to Chrissy Randall by about 14 there. So it means that he's really putting himself in it. It just looked really nice the way he was moving around the field. But also, he made 22 tackles, and I thought his defense was really, really solid. Missed 3, but, whatever. He's a rookie coming into playing a team like the Panthers and a team like the Storm. And yet you've already seen in that 2-game span that he is really coming along nicely in a really, really quick time frame. So, also had 270 kicking meters from 9 kicks, which you got to really appreciate. Had a forced dropout. had a couple of grubbers and bomb kicks and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, I think Tommy Weaver deserves a bit of a shout out there, and defensively was quite solid. Had a big hit in one of the Storm boys as well at some stage.
Great work by Tommy. It's always tough coming in as a rookie half against any side, let alone the Melbourne Storm in Melbourne, where they rarely lose. And he did himself no disfavours. He was awesome in that game. That wraps up our recap. Let's go to our HostPlus Cup recap. We have this segment every week called Around the Grounds, where we cover reserve grade and our Titans involved. Bears. The Burleigh Bears, they defeat the Capras 38-12 and progress to the preliminary final. They will play next week's winner of the Magpies and winner Manly Seagulls, I believe. They got the job done there. A key rivalry does loom next week with the Broncos feeder club, though. Regardless of who wins, Magpies and Seagulls are both their feeders. So I want to know, how did our Titans go for the Bears, and any thoughts you had on the game?
Yeah, look, very happy with that one. 38-12 winners. You know, you can't complain with that. Tony Francis will also speak about maybe getting a crack this weekend, depending on fitness for one of our boys, Jojo Fafita. But Tony Francis, 1 try, 184 metres, which was the most of any Bear, and 5 tackle breaks. He also had Isaac Fa'asul-Malawi with 116 metres and 21 tackles for 0 missed in 46 minutes. So, yeah, look, I thought that the Burleigh boys did well. Obviously, they are definitely favourites for the competition. They did obviously win the minor premiership, but South Logan you would have still considered as those guys, you know, the ones that could still come back and haunt. And I think that it really benefits the Bears that the Sunshine Coast Falcons won't be playing with pretty much any of their Storm boys this week in a do-or-die clash against the Capras, because the Falcons, they look really good. You know, they beat the Dolphins 42-36 to get into that next week to play the Capras. They're scoring points on. They're scoring a massive amount of points, but again, they're going to lose all their players because the Storm are pretty much resting all their players coming into the final round of the season. So Suolauvi Falongo won't be there. I don't know if Grant Anson will be there. Justin Olam isn't going to be there. He's with the Storm. I think Jaden Nikorima's coming up there. Tyron Wishart as well coming up to the Melbourne Storm. Jack Howarth, I believe, as well. Chris Lewis. So the fact of the matter is that that's pretty much their entire team there that are going to be missing this week, and that was who I was seeing as looming as the biggest threat to the Bears this year. So that could really be beneficial if the Capras, who obviously we just beat quite well, can knock them down, especially with it being up there in Rockhampton. And then, yeah, winning Manly Seagulls and Magpies, as you said. Whoever wins that game, the Burleigh Bears will play. The Magpies look good, but in the same sense did lose to the Brisbane Tigers there. So they've kind of had a really rocky end to the season, which is really strange. And winning Manly Seagulls, the Bears have already put a score past them a few weeks ago. I think it was back in round 21, and it was round 20 actually, I believe it was. It was the Bears winning 35-6 over the Seagulls, and that was in Wynnum at Coogari Oval as well. So, look, I think the Bears are running pretty hot right now. They're looking good coming into this ending of the season, into the finals and whatnot, and most of their boys will be able to play for them because, yeah, it's a benefit comparatively to what the Storm have done with the Falcons. So, look, I'm really confident the Bears are going to go well this year and win the comp.
Yeah, Tyron Roberts, a former Titan, is doing a great job there for them. I think Bears would have to be premiership favourites at this point. Magpies have hit rocky form there. They did lose last week to an East Brisbane Tigers side that was stacked with Storm players. Where they've become so important and why Magpies couldn't drop that game is Magpies don't have any players this week. They're all at the Broncos, who are essentially resting their whole side. Whereas East Tigers got the win. They get the week off in Q Cup. All the players that won are now playing for the Storm. And then they'll come back next week and continue playing in Q Cup. So Magpies could have burnt their season out.
What you've got to remember, mate, is that they played the Capras a couple of weeks ago. And the reason why I said rocky form is not just because of the last game, but they also lost 18-14 to the Capras in a big game that defined the minor premiership, which actually won the Bears minor premiership with the South Logan Magpies losing that one. They did beat the Wynnum Manly Seagulls 42-30 the last time they did play them. But the fact of the matter is that the Bears have just put a 38-12 clinic past the Capras. And when the South Logan Magpies played the Capras a couple of weeks ago, they lost 18-14. So although they looked like they were the biggest threat, it seems like it's all falling apart at the key end of the season.
Yeah, and that's why I was going to tip Magpies. Now that I've seen all the players are playing for the Broncos this week, I think we'll probably be meeting the Wynnum Manly Seagulls next week, which whether that favours or not, I don't think it matters too much. I think the Bears will beat anyone at this stage of the competition. They look really, really unstoppable at the moment. We usually have a segment at this time in the show where we review our current injury list and give an update on all of our players. Clearly unapplicable given we're in the final round. As for our team list review, Moeki Fotuaika returns. He was in Queensland last week for the birth of his child. Believe that's our only change there. I go through our reserves. Isaac Fa'asumalawi, Joe Vuna, Tony Francis, Josiah Pahulu, and Ken Mamalo. I want to ask you, is there any of these players that are named in our reserves now you'd like to see brought up for game day in particular?
I think that, look, Jojo had an injury in that game against the Storm and has had a lingering injury throughout the season. I know that desperately Jojo wants to play some footy, and I know that he can play footy. Obviously, scored a try on the weekend against the Storm. I know that he is a good quality player, but I also think that maybe he should give himself a rest through the game. And I know this is the last game of the season, but the fact of the matter is that don't kind of push it if you don't need to push it. And I do believe that he's a Desi kind of player. I do believe that Desi will want to implement him somewhere. I don't think he's going to want to lose Jojo. I do think that our wingers next year, obviously Phil Sami and Lofiana Camprera, but I do think Jojo just really wants to prove himself, which is fair. But look, I do believe that Tony Francis might come in. He might get his crack, his first debut for the club in a game that realistically should be winnable. It is winnable. It's a game that we should be winning this game, but the fact of the matter is that there is a couple of chances there. We could see Tony Francis come in if Jojo Fafita's injury doesn't help him, or we could see Kenny Mamalo come in as well, who's obviously been playing for the Burleigh Bears, who people have been wanting to watch for a while now. And this is the thing people forget, he's not what he was at the Warriors, right? And this isn't me, putting Ken Mamalo down. He's a completely different player now, but people still have that viewpoint that it's the Ken Mamalo from the David Fusatua and Ken Mamalo days at the 2018 Warriors, where they did pretty well, and they were dynamic, that wing pairing there. Ken Mamalo obviously is a guy that we definitely can implement. But if you're going to give someone a crack, you probably still would be looking at Tony Francis there. Last game of the season, it doesn't really matter at all. The Bulldogs can't jump us now. They obviously lost that game last week as well. I think that Tony Francis could be one that we could look to see in that wing spot if Jojo isn't feeling up to it.
I agree. Tony is the only change I want to see. For those that don't know about Tony, he's 20 years old. Been with us for a few years now. He's eligible for Lebanon and for Mate Matonga. He's played 40 games at reserve grade level, scoring 31 tries. This year, he's appeared 20 times for 17 tries. He has made 19 line breaks, 71 tackle breaks, and he is averaging 154 meters. And this Bears side's running hot. Like, he's only lost 4 games all year, so he is bringing a winning mentality into our side. I just think if Jojo's not 100%, it's not that we're risking him, but it's like, why play if you're not 100% up to it in a members appreciation round where we all really, really want to get a win here? And it's not to say that Tony Francis would be leapfrogging Jojo into the equations for next year or anything like that. We're all one team here. And I think that Tony Francis has earned it. I think you look at his stats this year in Q Cup, very similar to Camprera's last year. I think he's earned it. He's on a break this week anyway, given they won and they've advanced to the prelims and HostPlus Cup. So yeah, I'd like to see Tony get a chance for us in his debut. Let's jump into the game. We're against the Bulldogs this Sunday at 2 p.m. at Cbus Super Stadium. Neither side can play finals, of course. We sit in 13th with 8 wins. Dogs sit in 15th with 7 wins. I don't know about you, but just hearing the fact that we are within 1 win of the Bulldogs this year, it makes me disappointed, man. Like, I truly believe we are in such a higher category than the Bulldogs, who have had a shocking season when nothing's gone right for them. To hear that we only have 1 more win than them not only surprises me, kind of hurts as well. But no one cares how I feel. They never have. I live a pretty sad life of desperation. I cry myself to sleep most nights. So how do you see this game?
Man, I've cried myself to sleep every night especially this year. But no, yeah, I know the feeling, man. We are like, don't ask Emilio the Savage what his thoughts are of the Dogs, because he thinks they've got a team list that are going to win the premiership. When I look at the team list, and realistically, we should be putting a score on this team. Like, I'll be completely honest with you, Dogs fans will hate me. Well, guess what? This is a revenge game for me. This is a revenge game for me, because I got absolutely full-on abused by Dogs fans when I was down there at the Dogs game at a core, and obviously they got what they wanted with a try in the last seconds through Jaden Okunbor, which tells me a lot there. So I want to win this game badly. I don't care about the ladder, because again, the Dogs here can't jump us. I don't care about that. I just want this revenge for what happened down there, and also for the fact that it was just an embarrassing loss to a team that just isn't anywhere. Like, their fans overrate their team. They really do. I know that we can get a little bit too hyped about our team, going into a season, but we're also very realistic throughout the year that, look, it might not be going to plan, and we kind of go back into our little hermit holes where we're just like, oh, here we go again, same old Gold Coast, you know what I'm saying? So, unfortunately, it's just the noise there of Dogs, but yeah, Titans should be winning this game. We should be winning this game. Toby Sexton, I'm coming for you, my boy. I'm coming for you, Toby. And he knows it too. He knows it. Good old Toby Sexy Sexton, son. He was at the Gold Coast, now he's at the Dogs. Well, guess what, baby? I'm going to be in your ear on Sunday. He's a good friend of mine, guys, so don't think that it's anything too deep. But he's going to have to feel the how it would have felt for people like Zachy Lomax. It's like that. But yeah, look, I want to win this game. I want to win this game, not only for the personal reasons, but I also just want to finish the season on a high, which we're usually good for, man. We do win games at the back end of the year, and we do, finish off strongly. So although we've had a really tough schedule, Warriors, Panthers, Storm and the likes, this is a winnable game, and apparently we're heavy favourites for this as well, which is quite strange. But to be fair, if you have to think about it as well, our boys have been really in the game for 65 minutes against the best teams in the competition. Like you said, Panthers, Warriors, Storm, we competed for the heavy majority of those games. So I can see why we're heavy favourites for this game, and I believe we should kill them. We should kill them.
When I saw we had the Bulldogs this week, to be completely transparent, I was considering a bet on our side in the magnitude of thousands. I was so confident. I'm so confident. There's just no value.
I'm sorry. I know you're talking right now, bro, but I gotta interrupt here. Even if we were undefeated after 26 rounds and we were playing a full strength team against a completely weakened Tigers team, through all the years of being a Titans fan, I still don't know if I could put a heavy bet on this team. I love them. I'm very weak. I'm passionate. I'm dedicated. But, man, you got some balls to put. You got some balls, man.
Man, I was ready to go. I was going to go in and buy a new watch this weekend, and I was ready to make it too. But there's just no value on us. The bookies believe we should win this game. Onto the game itself specifically, I don't want to sugarcoat this at all. It is our final game. It is Members Appreciation Round. And there has been some awesome effort in recent weeks. But we have lost 6 of our last 7. Our last win was in round 17. We need a win to finish our year.
No way. Cowboys.
Sorry, you're right. You are right. Cowboys win was awesome. It gave us all a lot of joy, as did the Broncos win. But they're 2 games, and there's a lot of losses in between there. Now, it is Members Appreciation Round. I've said it a few times now, but I really think this is an important round. I would never suggest as fans we're entitled to anything from the club or players, but a win here would be a really, really great way to finish the Holbrook/Lenihan era and just get us excited, looking forward to the Desi Hasler era. A nice little salute to the Titans fans. Sorry this year didn't go as you thought it might, but we're ready to go again next year. 2022, we beat the Warriors in the final round by a field goal. Year before that, we beat them 44-0 at home. And 2020, we beat the Knights 36-6. So our final record has been really good in the last 3 years there. Our round 12 loss to the Bulldogs, 20-18, unacceptable. It was unacceptable. On form, we shouldn't have lost that game. And on form, we shouldn't be losing this one. We're fortunate we have a chance to correct that. We do average 4 more points per game than the Bulldogs, and we do complete roughly 5% higher. We also average 6 more tackle breaks per game, and we miss 4 less tackles per game on average. Where I'm getting at, every single stat is in our favor here. The betting market's in our favor. Mental edge-wise, it's in our favor. They're in turmoil. They're in the media for all the wrong reasons. They got 8 players wanting to walk out that became 4 players. It's now no players. They don't even know who wants to be there. Do you know what I mean? We've got this mental edge, and we need to win this game. They average the least amount of tackle breaks of any side in this competition, and they average the most missed tackles. They don't break tackles, and they miss a lot. Where I'm getting at, we need to win this game. We can't lose this game. We can't. If we lose this game, I genuinely think I could cry. We can't lose this game, Blaze. We just can't. And I am wary of Toby Sexton. I am wary he comes in and has a really strong game and kind of says...
Don't you worry. I'll deal with him, mate. I'll deal with the big Tobes. Don't you worry.
From a perspective of Toby, I'm sure he'd love to come back and give a bit of a stick it to the club management. You know, you didn't think I was the next halfback at this club, and he could have a very strong game. But outside of that, and maybe some Matt Burton brilliance, I can't see how the Dogs win here. I believe we win 13 plus. I'm prepared to put that as high as 20 plus. We should be running over the Bulldogs here and just thumping them. There should be no competition with where their club's currently at. My final prediction, Titans 13 plus. But if you want my real prediction, Titans 20 plus. And if this ages poorly, I'll be very upset with our club. We've got to win this one, boys. We can win it. Go the Titans. What's your final prediction for this one?
Back in. I want to go over a couple of points he made just then as well before I do give my prediction here. Is that I think that it was really what you said about like this is the last game to really kind of salute off the Jimmy Lenihan, Justin Holbrook era. Because obviously this is still a season where we had Justin as at the helm, about 10 odd weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, whatever it was now. So this is the last game of this era, and we do move forward with Desi Hasler going into next year. So I think that for people who are going to the game this weekend, just look around and just kind of embrace the transitioning of the club and transitioning of what we were to what we're now going to be trying to achieve in comparison with the different styles and the different coaches and whatnot. Do just take a look around and kind of just embrace what we have and then move forward going into the new year and just kind of remember it, but also let's recognise the future. I also think that, look, the Dogs have got a lot of problems right now. They've got a lot of problems. And I said on a comment, I think it was on your page actually on Insta, where I said, look, the Dogs and the Rabbitohs are getting slammed right now. They are both getting slammed. Specifically the Rabbitohs, but the Dogs definitely are as well. I feel for their fans. I do. Not the fans that were at a core that day, but everybody else. I feel for you. Because we know how it feels. We've had the Tino and Dave situation this year. We've had the Justin Holbrook, Desi Hasler situation, the Ben Hunt saga, the second half fade outs that your team benefited from. We've had all these situations this year that we've been slammed to the media for. But I believe we should put a score past your team this week because I believe that we've been going tit for tat with the best recently. I think that we are a lot closer to being a successful team right now than you are. And that's not meaning to disrespect the club as a whole because I think Dogs fans are incredibly passionate. Again, not the fans that are at a core, but I think Dogs fans are incredibly passionate. But I do think that on paper and due to what's been going on recently and due to our recent results, I believe that the Titans should be winning this game, winning well. I will say Titans 13 plus. And if I'm going to go an MVP from this game, I'm going to say that I'm going to go and say it's Tommy Weaver. I'm going to say it's Tommy Weaver. You know why? Yeah, I just think Tommy Weaver. He's gone up against Tobes, a guy that he played with at Tweed. That Tommy Weaver was the 6, Toby Sexton was the 7. They know each other very, very, very well. And I just think that Tony Weaver is going to prove himself here and prove why he should be the 7. Like, obviously, we've got Tanner there. And, we can't forget Tanner right now. I know a lot of people hate on Tanner and whatnot. But I just think Tony Weaver is going to explode in this game. And I think he's going to do really well with Kieran Foran at home in a game that is winnable. And we're going to see what kind of talent Tommy Weaver does possess there. So I'm looking forward to a Tommy Weaver spectacular.
I completely agree with that. He has played with Toby. They're mates. But there's also that genuine, I want to beat you. We were halves partners early this year in reserve grade level. Now we're both trying to make our name in the big grade. And for Tommy Weaver, let's say his first 2 games against the Panthers and Storm, if he was good in those, which most fans would agree, he's going to be great against the Bulldogs, in my opinion, not to add too much pressure to him.
Before we get to the Q&A, I just want to say as well is that the weird thing, right, with sport and professional sport and obviously our team is that when they're playing at Tweed and Tommy Weaver and Toby Sexton, ultimately they're mates. They love each other. They're good with each other. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they're competing with each other. And they're competing with each other for a spot on the Titans when they were here. And Toby obviously got that crack, but Tommy always knew that he would have to overtake Toby to get to that spot. So this is a very big battle of the 7s in this game because Toby was ours, Tommy is ours, and they both played with Tweed this season. So, I think Tommy is going to come out of the top of Tobes in this game, and I think we're going to absolutely slap it. So let's slap down a Q&A, but we're going to slap the doggies this week. No more woof woof here, son. Don't you worry. I'll be dealing with Tobes this week.
I actually look forward to it. I believe I'll be able to hear that through the television. This is our first Q&A, our first question from the Q&A rather, kind of fits straight into our preview there. It comes from Lou and Lars, and they said, do you really believe Titans should be $1.30 phase versus the Dogs? I'm going to say yes for all the same reasons in my recap. Statistically, we average more, we concede less, we create more opportunities, we've got more wins, we're higher on the ladder, we're in better form. and you just break this game down across the park. You break down both rosters. I think the easiest way to answer that question actually is just to say, if you don't agree with that market or that betting price, where are the Dogs better than the Titans right now? I can't see a single area. So yes, I do think we probably do deserve to be that betting price, although I'm not going to take it. How do you see that? Or how would you answer that question rather?
Based off of name alone, maybe you would say that on a pure hooker basis, Reid Marnie should be beating out Chrissy Randall. But I don't, personally, I think Chrissy Randall is incredible in what he does. And I think that just other people around the NRL won't understand how quality he is. I know we definitely win the back row battle. Khalees Haas and Dave Fafita beats Viliami Kikau and Corey Waddell. The lock, Tina Malawi beats out Maxi King, who is another ex-player of ours, a good friend of mine. You go to the front row forwards, Jimmy Jolliffe and Mwaki Fodawaker taking on Luke Thompson and Liam Knight. I'm telling you, we win that battle there. In regards to the halves, of Kieran Foran, Tommy Weaver, Matt Burt and Toby Sexton, it's a bit of a wash actually, but I think that the experience of Kieran Foran really helps that. However, if you want to go with a wash, I'm okay with that. Inexperience, but also, that's a wash. But then you go to the wings. Loffy and Jojo versus Adokar and Blake Wilson. Adokar really does, have a big name about himself, but I think as a duo, I think that as a duo, you've got Jojo and Loffy as the guys. And even if you don't have Jojo, we give Tony. If Tony Francis comes in, then I would give that battle to the increase of Adokar. But I just think that Adokar and Loffy and Pereira are actually very similar. Are very similar players in a lot of ways. And I think that Loffy does have a ceiling as high as what Adokar has achieved. Then you've got Brian Kelly and Aaron Short versus Jake Averillo and Paul Motti. I give that to our boys. I give it to our boys. Then you go to the fullback of AJ Brimdog Millionaire versus Hayes Perham. And even if you wanted to put Keanu Kenny in, I still believe Keanu Kenny is better than Hayes Perham, personally. So I do think that $1.30 is fine. I think $1.30 is fine. And the question, just a fun fact for everyone, the question that's come from here from Lou and Lars, I know he's a Bulldogs fan, so they're obviously just trying to say, we shouldn't be like this, but I think that you can understand it. I think you can understand it. You look at the team list, as Clarkey's gone over, it realistically should be a win here for the Titans. I know the Titans have had hard season this year, but look at the results. The results have been a lot closer than what the Dogs have, or for 65 minutes, they've been a lot closer than what the Dogs have. So, regardless win or lose, you can't jump us. And I just think, and it's at our home, in our members' round, with our women's playing beforehand, with our women's probably winning beforehand, and then it's the last game of the season. So I think that we win, and I think we win well.
We compete well for 65 minutes. They lose by 66-0 to the Knights. Statistically, we are 11-11 against them.
You had to do that.
I had to violate them. But whoever wins this, we are 11-11 in our histories as clubs. So whoever wins this will take the winning margin. The only stat they've got over us that I could find while you were talking is they've got 2 wins over us recently, once in 2022 and earlier this year by a 10-point margin and a 2-point margin. But you're picking at straws there. If that's the reason you're tipping them, that's for sure. Our next question comes from Aiden Photographs, and he says, thoughts of Jojo put on the wing instead of Tony Francis? For me, I think we've already touched on this. I do think Tony Francis should come in. It's not a sign of disrespect to Jojo. It's just that our season is already coming to a conclusion. If Jojo's not 100%, why not give a young kid who's worked hard all year the ultimate reward in his NRL debut? That's my thoughts on the situation. Your thoughts on it?
I don't think that I really need to talk too much more about it. As you said, we've covered it already throughout the podcast. And again, if Jojo's injured, give Tony a crack. I'm happy either way, but I would love to see what Tony could produce. Yeah.
And our final question this week comes from XShar4 on Instagram, and they said it's not podcast related, but what BBL team do you follow? I'll go to you first.
Well, they did well last year, man, but it is Brisbane. If I will say though, with the Gold Coast, if we had a Gold Coast team, which I believe is potentially happening, I will be a Gold Coast whatever fan and get to Metricon to support the team. For the time being, I'm a Brisbane Heat fan. I'm not heavily involved in the BBL. I do stream it on BKRsport YouTube, obviously when the games are on at the end of this year. But I'm not desperately, I'm not going to be having a reaction like I had with the Dolphins-Titans game this year there at Suncorp. I'm not going to be having that kind of reaction if we lose. Again, I want us to win. I want the Brisbane Heat to win. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a summer sport, man. I've got many sports around the world that I watch. I watch NFL that's starting up very soon. I've got the Premier League that's already cracking on. NBA starting off soon. I've still got baseball on for my cubbies. So there's a lot that goes on. Then you've got the BBL. You've got the international cricket at that time. There's just still so much that goes on. So yeah, look, Brisbane Heat, but I'm not that heavily invested unless there's a Gold Coast team.
I think for me on the sports scale, if rugby league's a 10 out of 10, which it is, UFC is probably my only other, or MMA, mixed martial arts, probably my only other 10 out of 10 sport. BBL for me is a 8 out of 10. I do watch most games unless I've got something else on, and I am a Brisbane Heat fan as well. But I do completely agree with you. I do love the Heat, but it's just that Brisbane connotation where that's my nearest club from where I grew up, and I used to go to all their games at the Gabba, so I do go for them. But I would jump ship if a Gold Coast, or maybe we could make our own BBL team, football team, who knows? But if the Gold Coast side was to enter the BBL as part of their expansion, where they could go to Canberra, they could go to the Gold Coast, etc., then I would jump ship. In the same way, I was an Eels fan, I jumped ship to the Titans. I'm from the Gold Coast. I love the Gold Coast. That's my place, my community. I was born at Southport Hospital, and I'm Gold Coast through and through, baby. But do go for the Heat. Go the Titans. That's the bottom line, baby.
Why
it's got nothing to do with your question.
What happened just then? Why did it? Were you waiting for me to say something or something?
No, I just had an epiphany of how much I love the Gold Coast.
I'm going to double down on this right now and say, look, the Gold Coast is the greatest place to live in the country. I know people from other places in this country will say that their place is the best, and I know I'm from the Gold Coast, but in the same sense, there's a reason why everyone comes here to holiday. There's a reason why, and then people say, oh, it's just a holiday town. Well, look, that's because you see it that way, but you come here, you love your life and go back. Well, guess what? I live here, I love my life, and I don't have to go back nowhere. I stay here. So, and this is why my banter involves a lot at games when, you've got people like Penrith fans having a crack at you, or you've got Parramatta fans, or even to an extent Bulldogs fans. You're like, your team can be good, but we live in a better area. And it's like, I know that you guys, all these different places have hard-working people and lovely people the same. The fact of the matter is that it's just not as good to live as the Gold Coast. So regardless of how the team's going, just be proud of where you're from. And at the end of the day, when we are quality and we do win the premiership, not only are we going to have the best NRL team in the country, but the best place to live, and we're going to win everything. So thanks for coming. That's what I have to say. Go to Gold Coast, Brisbane, get out of here.
Ray White, Rubino website, top 11 reasons to live on the Gold Coast. They've got beach accommodation, community spirit, activities, shopping, family living, weekend excursions, eating out, clubs, events, and boating. Ray White, I will give you reason 12. And that is the mighty Gold Coast Titans. Let's go, boys and girls, this week. Let's get a huge win. Go the Titans. Women, 1 to 12. We'll take 13 plus. Men, 20 plus. Go the Titans. That's all from me, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in to our, I believe it will be our final review/recap regular podcast for the year. We may be coming out with some other future. Stay tuned to our some other content in the future. Rather, stay tuned to our social media for that as we plan to navigate the off season. But from myself, just want to say thank you to everyone who has been with us for not only this journey, but really kickstarting off this podcast and entering a space where there hasn't traditionally been a Titans podcast like this. So we're really proud to be in front of you every week doing this, and it is members appreciation round. So I want to say to my co-host, thank you very much to all your efforts throughout the week. On behalf of Titans fans, we appreciate you being at every single ground and giving us that representation there. We appreciate everything you do for the club, mate. So that's all from me. Thank you very much, listeners, and over to you to say farewell.
Yeah, look, it's been a long year, but we keep cracking on, like I keep saying. We keep cracking on, man. You just got to keep on putting yourself into a positive mindset, regardless of, everything that goes down. You still just have to keep yourself in a positive mindset. Look, I think that, guys, get out to the game this weekend. And also, I must say as well, we have a doubleheader on the Gold Coast next week. I didn't realise this until the Melbourne game on the weekend. But we also have a women's doubleheader next week at Seabuster Stadium on Sunday. So do get out there. We're going to sit in the front line, bang on the drums, getting crazy next Sunday. There's an elimination final in the NRL on that day. No Titans men's, obviously. Our season will have been done. So get out there. Beautiful day. I think we take on the Parramatta Eels, which should be hopefully a good win for us, considering their season so far. And cheer on the girls. I think the Tigers play in the pre-game as well. The first game beforehand. So that's next Sunday. Obviously, this Sunday, as we said, members round, get out there, get amongst the drums, get amongst the front line, get amongst everyone, and just, like I said, take a look around and just embrace what we have now, moving on into the future, man. So, look, hopefully a big win coming up this week, end the season on a high, and the women's team just keeps on going on and keeps into those finals, and we keep getting some enjoyment through that, and then hopefully, as we were talking about, we get a BBL team on the Gold Coast, and maybe an A-League team. Let's get every sport onto the Gold Coast to represent this great city. But we appreciate you. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, Apple, we appreciate you as always. And thank you for listening. And Toby Sexton, I'm coming for you, son. I'm coming for you, Toby, son. I'm coming for you. Go to Gold Coast. Get up and out of